She stayed quiet when he followed her, stayed calm when he pulled her over. But the day he humiliated her in front of everyone, that's when her father came home. It happened in the hallway between third and fourth period, right in front of everyone. Maya Carter was walking with her binder hugged tight against her chest, head down, moving quick like she always did. She wasn't shy, just focused. 15, with early acceptance letters already sitting in her inbox, valedictorian bound. No drama, no noise, just her books, and her plans. But that Wednesday, everything changed. Officer Nathan Reed, the town cop assigned to work security at Brookfield High in southern Arkansas, was standing near the cafeteria doors. He had his thumb tucked under his duty belt like he owned the place. A few students were around him, laughing at something he said. Maya didn't look at him. She never did. As she passed, he stepped forward, too close. "You watching where you're going, young lady?" he said, loud enough for others to hear. Maya stopped, confused. I'm sorry," she asked, startled. Reed smirked. Then, almost casually, he tilted a bottle of water forward. His hand bumped hers. The bottle slipped. Or maybe it didn't. Either way, the cold water splashed straight onto the front of her shirt. She gasped. Papers dropped. The hallway erupted. Reed's tone didn't change. "Oops, guess someone's clumsy today." The words cut sharper than the water. Maya stood there, soaked. The laughter around her crawled under her skin like fire ants. Her shirt stuck to her body. Her hair was dripping. Her face was burning. She didn't say anything. She didn't even look at him. She just picked up her papers, turned, and walked away. But that look in her eyes, that wasn't just humiliation. It was confusion and fear. Maya didn't cry in the bathroom. She didn't cry when she changed shirts in the nurse's office or when she skipped lunch to sit in an empty classroom. She held it in, just like always. But something had shifted, because this wasn't the first time Officer Reed had gone out of his way to bother her. The first time was subtle, a stop sign near the edge of town. She was driving home from work at the public library one evening, headlights off in the parking lot where he waited like he knew her schedule. He said she rolled the stop. She didn't. He asked questions that had nothing to do with driving, wanted to know where she was going, what was in her bag, why she looked nervous. She told her mom, but Lila brushed it off. "Just be careful, baby. Some cops get bored," she'd said, but Maya saw the way her mother's hands trembled as she stirred the pot on the stove. Lila had spent a lifetime teaching her daughter to be invisible, to swallow her pride, to survive. But this time, Maya could see the fear in her mother's eyes, the unspoken terror that no matter how much she tried to protect her daughter, the world would find a way to hurt her. The second time, Reed showed up at her job. Didn't order anything, just stood by the front door, arms crossed, watching her shelf books, smiling. There was no reason. Maya never got into trouble, never gave attitude. She was quiet, always respectful. So she started asking herself the question no teenager should ever have to ask. Why me? The answer came in whispers and glances. Ethan Reed, same school, same year, son of the cop. They shared AP history and nothing else, except a debate they'd had in class 2 months earlier. Maya had made a solid argument about systemic inequality. Ethan didn't like being corrected, especially not by a girl who looked like her. That day, she'd won. The class clapped. His jaw clenched. It wasn't just that debate, though. Ethan used to be top of the class, now he was second. Maya took that spot. He was used to people laughing at his jokes. Then the star point guard, Jamal, started walking Maya to class. And that's when things got weird. She'd catch Ethan staring, whispering to friends when she walked by, posting cryptic stuff online. And then his dad, Officer Reed, started showing up everywhere. What Maya didn't know was this. Ethan had told his father she was disrespectful, that she'd started stuff, that she was always talking back. He twisted moments into stories, left out details, painted himself as the victim. And Officer Reed, he believed him, no questions asked. But Maya still didn't know the full story. All she knew was things were getting worse. By Friday, Maya couldn't pretend anymore. She walked through school like a shadow, quiet, tight-lipped, shoulders pulled in, eyes down. Everyone had seen the hallway incident. Some had laughed, most stayed silent, and even though no one said it out loud, she could feel the shift. The air changed when she walked into a room. The looks, the whispers, the pity. She hated the pity most of all. During lunch, she sat in the back corner of the library, pretending to study. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every time someone walked by the glass windows, her heart jumped. When the librarian asked if she was okay, she nodded. Of course she nodded. But something cracked that afternoon. Mr. Hayes, her U.S. government teacher, caught her after class. He was young, early 30s, and one of the few teachers who actually listened. He'd been there the day of the debate, saw what Ethan had said, saw the shift afterward, saw her change. "Maya," he said gently, standing in the doorway. "Wait a sec." She paused, clutching her binder like it could shield her from everything. "You sure everything's all right?" She hesitated. "I'm fine." "Are you?" "Because I've been teaching long enough to know when a student's not fine." That was all it took. She didn't burst into tears. She didn't collapse. But her voice cracked and her shoulders started to shake. And Mr. Hayes stepped back and gave her space. Not pressure, just space. "I didn't do anything," she finally whispered. "I believe you," he said. That was the first time someone had said that out loud. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't rush her. He just asked if she wanted to talk to someone, maybe the principal, maybe a counselor, maybe someone at the district level. Maya shook her head. She didn't trust the system anymore. But that night when she got home and saw her dad's boots by the front door, mud still fresh on the soles, she froze. He was back. Colonel Marcus Carter, retired technically, still carried himself like he was on duty, still spoke like every word had weight. He hadn't told anyone he was coming home early. He never did. He just showed up when it mattered, and he could see it in her face the moment she walked through the door. "What happened?" he asked, calm as ever. Maya stood in the kitchen, fingers trembling over the zipper of her backpack. Her mother, Lila, looked up from the stove, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and helplessness. "Baby, what's wrong?" she whispered, her voice cracking. For the first time, Maya saw the tears her mother had been holding back, the ones she'd swallowed every time she warned her daughter to be careful, to stay small. Lila had spent years trying to shield Maya from the world's cruelty, but now, faced with the reality of it, she looked shattered. Maya looked at them both. Then she told them everything. The stop, the library, the hallway, the water, Ethan. She expected anger, maybe a slammed fist, a curse word, a demand to drive down to the school that night. But Marcus didn't do any of that. He just nodded once, quiet, measured. Then he walked into his office, closed the door, and didn't come out for the rest of the night. Lila, though, she broke. She pulled Maya into a hug so tight it hurt, her tears soaking into her daughter's hair. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying, her voice raw. "I thought if we just stayed quiet, if we just followed the rules, but it wasn't enough." For the first time, Maya saw her mother not as the unshakable force who'd taught her to survive, but as a woman who'd been fighting battles of her own long before Maya was born. But what Maya didn't know yet was that her father wasn't just listening. He was planning. Colonel Marcus Carter didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office with the door closed, surrounded by old files, a laptop he never let anyone touch, and a folder marked FIA that he hadn't opened in years. While the rest of the house was quiet, Marcus moved with the same precision he carried through 3 decades of classified missions across continents. He didn't pace. He didn't rant. He gathered intel. By sunrise, he had Officer Nathan Reed's entire public record pulled. Traffic stop patterns, complaints, use of force reports, every document he could access legally, and a few he got from people who owed him favors. And what he saw? A pattern. Most people didn't look close enough to connect the dots. Marcus did. He always did. And the dots spelled one thing clear. Nathan Reed had a problem with young black kids who talked back, did well, or didn't know their place. And his son Ethan, just like his father. Same seed, different uniform. That morning, Marcus sat across from Maya at the breakfast table. She barely touched her toast. He didn't push her. He just asked a simple question. "You trust me?" Maya nodded. "Good," he said, pushing a manila envelope toward her. "Because this ends today." Later that afternoon, Marcus showed up at Brookfield High. Not with noise, not with threats, just presence. He didn't wear a uniform. Didn't need to. His frame alone turned heads. His voice, low and steady, carried more weight than shouting ever could. He asked to speak with the principal, a quiet woman named Evelyn Shaw, who'd been trying to stay out of the mess. She didn't expect a visit from a man with military posture and cold precision in his eyes. Marcus didn't yell. He laid the documents out on her desk, quietly, clearly, fact after fact, complaint after complaint, pattern after pattern. He explained what his daughter had gone through and asked one thing. "Do you want to fix this inside this building, or do I need to take it outside?" Principal Shaw looked through the pages. Her face changed. He didn't wait for an answer. He already had the next meeting scheduled, with a civil rights attorney in Little Rock and a journalist who'd written on police misconduct for the Arkansas Tribune. And as word began to spread, the people who laughed in the hallway on Wednesday, they weren't laughing anymore. But Marcus wasn't here for revenge. He was here for accountability, and he wasn't done yet. Monday morning came with the storm. Not outside, but inside the walls of Brookfield High and the Pine Bluff Police Department. Before the first period even started, Officer Nathan Reed was asked to step into a private meeting with Principal Shaw and a district representative. He walked in smirking, walked out with his badge sitting on the table behind him. Suspension, pending investigation. That was the start. By noon, Marcus's contact at the Arkansas Tribune had published a piece titled, "High School Honor Student, Harassed by Local Officer. Father Speaks Out." It wasn't sensational. It didn't need to be. The facts did the work. It included dashcam timestamps, public complaints, testimony from past students, even a quote from Mr. Hayes. "She's one of the most respectful, focused students I've ever taught. This wasn't about behavior. This was personal." By the time Maya got to sixth period, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The local news picked it up next. Channel 7 ran the story that evening. They blurred her face, but everyone at school knew who it was. The girl who kept her head down, the girl who never made trouble, the girl who'd been humiliated on purpose. Now, everything was turning. Ethan Reed tried to lay low. His little online comments deleted. His friends quiet. Even the basketball player who once laughed at his joke wouldn't make eye contact. No one wanted to be next. Maya? She didn't gloat. She didn't strut. She just walked into school like she always had. Except this time, her shoulders were back. And when she passed the hallway where it all happened, the water, the laughter, the humiliation, something shifted inside her. Not anger, not revenge. Peace. Outside of school, things got louder. 3 other students came forward with similar stories. 2 black boys and 1 girl who said Officer Reed had stopped them without cause, accused them of things they didn't do, and made them feel afraid. Now, the story wasn't just about Maya. It was about a pattern. Marcus didn't say much publicly. He gave one quiet interview. Just one. The reporter asked why he didn't push harder, go after the officer with lawsuits and more heat. Marcus's response was simple. "Sometimes the truth is the loudest thing in the room. I don't need to destroy a man. I just need the truth to do its job." That truth did more than damage reputations. It sparked meetings at the school board. It forced the police department to look at their training. It gave a handful of scared kids the courage to speak up. Not just at Brookfield, but in nearby towns too. And Maya? She got invited to speak at a student leadership summit in Fayetteville. She stood at the podium, her voice steady, but her hands gripping the edges of her notes. She didn't just talk about her situation. She looked out at the crowd of students, some nodding, some wiping tears, and she spoke to them. "This isn't just about me," she said. "It's about all of us. If you see something, say something, not just to your friends, to the adults who are supposed to protect you. Start a student advocacy group. Document everything. And most of all, don't let anyone make you feel small for existing. She ended her speech with a line that didn't come from a speechwriter or a teacher. It came from her dad. Silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's the moment before the truth walks into the room. But even after all that, one final moment was still coming. And it wouldn't involve reporters, principals, or news cameras. It would just be a conversation, face to face. It was a week later. No cameras, no microphones, no audience. Just a small room inside the district office. Neutral walls, foldable chairs, a clock ticking too loud. Maya sat across from Nathan Reed, who now looked nothing like the man who poured water on a teenage girl in front of a crowd. No badge, no uniform. Just a man sitting stiff in a chair, avoiding her eyes. He didn't want to be there. That much was obvious, but the district insisted. Some kind of mediated meeting. Restorative dialogue, they called it. Maya hadn't wanted it either, not at first. But her dad had asked her one simple question. Do you want him to hear you, or just hear about you? So she showed up. The mediator opened the meeting, explained how it would go, then stepped back and let silence do what it does. It was Maya who spoke first. You humiliated me, she said, looking him straight in the eye. You targeted me because your son couldn't handle a girl being smarter than him. Reed shifted in his seat, cleared his throat, still didn't meet her gaze. You followed me. You made me feel unsafe. You treated me like a threat when all I ever did was study, go to work, and mind my business. The words were calm, steady, not loud, not cruel. Just the truth. Reed opened his mouth, closed it, then finally said, That wasn't my intention. She blinked. You spilled water on me in front of everyone. What exactly was your intention? He went quiet again. Maya didn't need an apology. Not really. What she needed was to look the man in the eye and know he knew what he did. She stood up, thanked the mediator, and walked out. Her message had already landed. Outside, Marcus was waiting by the car. No suit, no folder, just him in a quiet strength that didn't ask for attention. She got in and exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. He looked over and asked, How'd it feel? She didn't smile, but she nodded. Like I won without having to fight. He nodded back. That's what real power looks like. Maya didn't go back to being invisible. She didn't want to. She started mentoring younger girls, joined a student justice group, wrote a piece for a teen column in the state paper, not to stay in the spotlight, but to make sure her voice didn't go quiet again. Because once you've been silenced, speaking becomes a responsibility. Not everyone has a father like Marcus Carter. Not everyone has a paper trail, a good teacher, or a reporter willing to listen. Maya knew that. That's why she spoke for the ones who couldn't. That's what made her powerful. And Officer Reed, he didn't return to Brookfield. His badge was suspended indefinitely. He tried to challenge it, but the system he thought was untouchable. It started doing what it was supposed to, bit by bit, quietly. Just like Marcus said, it's not about being loud, it's about being right. So what's the lesson here? Power without integrity is just noise, and silence, when it's full of truth, can shake the ground. If someone's ever made you feel small for doing the right thing, remember this. You don't have to match their energy. You just have to stay standing. If you felt something from this story, share it. Talk about it. Ask yourself who you'd be in Maya's shoes or Marcus's, because real change doesn't always start with shouting. Sometimes it starts with one quiet voice that refuses to disappear.